I'm a child of the 60s and 70s. Getting high was just what we did. By the time I was in the 9th grade, I had been to 12 schools in 6 states. I had freckles. I had a low self-esteem. I did not feel like I fit in anywhere, and getting high made me feel like I fit in. It broke some of the inhibitions. I didn't find alcohol until I went in the Army at 19 years old, and that's where I met my new best friend, which was whiskey, for many years to come. So drugs and alcohol were things that I did, and there were times when I knew they were a problem, and there were times when I was able to shed those problems. But over years, marriage, divorce, kids, life, things just keep piling up, and I found myself in a position of relying on the drugs and the alcohol, to the point where I honestly and truly believed that death was imminent when I was approaching 50 years old if I did not get some help. I knew I was a mess. I had been to several rehabs, and as soon as I would get out of the rehab, I'd go right back to the old ways, because I was not willing to give up certain things in my life, like the girlfriend or whatnot. My little brother, one day, I was visiting him over in East Tennessee, and he said, "Have you ever thought about a Christian rehab?" And I was like, wow, the one place I have never thought to look for help was up. And so something was sparked inside of me, and I was on a mission to find it. Now, I didn't have insurance. I could not afford to pay for rehab, and I made too much money to get help, and I didn't make enough money to pay for it. So I was in this catch-22 here. So it had to be a free rehab. And the Salvation Army offered a 6-month program, free of charge. You work for the Salvation Army. You go to the Salvation Army Church. They feed you, clothe you, house you. You live there. It's a live-in rehab. You don't leave. You're breathalyzed every time you walk in the door. And it was a life-changing program, because as soon as I got to that program is when I turned my life over to Jesus. Even though my brother had suggested it, it wasn't until I actually got there that I made the commitment. Prior to that period of my life, I was not a Christian. I was a tried and true agnostic. If anybody, my dog tags in the Army literally said agnostic. And I had very vague ideas, beliefs, and views on God, and Jesus was kind of just this dude in the Bible. And so I started my Christian walk out at the Salvation Army Adult Rehab Center in the Salvation Army Church. And so I knew that as soon as I was able to travel outside of the rehab to a different church, that I already knew that I was going to go to the Nazarene Church, because I had friends that were going there. And so I did. But the one thing that had kept me away from Christianity most of my life was, there's this God, and He loves you beyond anything you can possibly imagine. But if you don't get it right in 30, 60, 80 years, then you will burn in hell for the rest of eternity. That just didn't make sense to me. Everybody is entitled to their interpretations, their opinions, but to me it just made perfect sense at that time that yes, that is not, that I wasn't going to burn in hell for eternity, that God does love you above and beyond anything you can imagine. I came to Madison Campus Church through the doors of Celebrate Recovery. I was a year into my recovery program, and I met someone in Celebrate Recovery that invited me to come to church with her. So I did that for almost 3 years, but probably about a year into my going to church here, some real questions started coming into my thought process. And actually I was at the Nazarene Church reading the 10 Commandments one day when I saw the 4th commandment, and I guess it never dawned on me that that was where the Seventh Day had come from, that this church I was attending part-time. And I was like, oh wow, this isn't just something that these people came up with, this is the fourth commandment. And at that point, I had a conviction. So I told this young lady that I had some serious questions that I needed some serious answers to. And she said, well, my dad, he does Bible study. And so I started studying with Ken Miller. And I joked with him the first time I sat down. I hit him on the knee and said, you're gonna try to convert me, aren't you? He said, absolutely not. He said, I'm gonna show you the answers to the questions that you have in the Bible. This was during the Ron Kuzay series that we had here at the church. And so I had a big influx of information really quickly. And I started attending here full-time. And I eventually dropped my membership at the Nazarene Church, but we still waited a little while before I decided to get baptized in the church. I have been over here for 10 years now, a member for 9. And this year I had celebrated my 12th year of sobriety. When my little brother, before he suggested the Christian rehab, he said, I don't understand why you don't just quit. And I told him, I said, I cannot explain it to you in a manner that you will properly understand. And he called me back the next day and he said, you know, Terry, he said, I was thinking about it last night. He said, I weigh 300 pounds. I get it. You know, everybody's addiction is different. Celebrate Recovery is about any hurt, habit, or hang-up. It is not just about 3% of Celebrate Recovery attendees are there for chemical addiction. 97% are there for grief, sexual abuse, pornography addictions, lust, food. It's an all-encompassing. It's AA, NA, CA, SA, everything wrapped up in. Because in my opinion, this thing that we're all searching for, they're trying to fill this void with stuff: sex, food, drugs, alcohol. And that void that we're trying to fill is the void of Jesus. We are lacking Jesus in our heart, and so we don't know what we're lacking, so we're just trying to fill it with something. After I made the decision to start attending church here, it's like so many things started happening related to the church. So part of my testimony is this: what my life was like 12 years ago and what my life is like now is completely different. I could not have made the radical changes in my life, but God can. I am not even the same person. 12 years ago, I was homeless. I had nothing left. I had nowhere to live. I stayed in my car. I lived in dangerous situations. I stayed in people's garages or their front porches or wherever I could sleep when me and my girlfriend were fighting, which was all the time. But everything in my life, there's nothing in my life that is the same. My employer is at church here. After 2 years, I went to work at the hospital for a couple of years. My employer there went to church here. Everything over the next few years that happened in my life that were positive came from my associations here at this church. This miracle that I am living is available to anyone. It's available to everyone. All you have to do is ask for it and be willing to let Him work, to accept it and do your part. My name is Terry. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ in recovery from chemical addiction and codependency, and this is my story. What's yours?